What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to the Paul Harrell program. Thank you so much for being with us. We got a great show for you. We're going to introduce ourselves again because we're in our new morning time slot, but we're happy to be here. We're going to start just talking a little bit about the reflecting pool. We remember this and the vandalism, and now we have accusations that it wasn't vandalism, but clearly there were people vandalizing it. President Trump not too happy with Jeanine Pirro for dropping the charges. We got those comments. Also, we do have the news that he is not firing her, at least as of now. There was a White House meeting yesterday with Jeanine Pirro, and she did not get fired. So we're going to talk about that. Also, we're going to launch a few new segments. Trans women are men. Well, that's the one, right, Rob? We're going to launch that segment. We got taxpayer barbecue. We got Fourth Amendment funeral. We got borderline insanity. All of that coming up here on the Paul Harrell program. And it starts right now.
The Paul Harrell program.
All right, folks, thanks so much for being with us, and good morning to you. We are jazzed. We are caffeinated. And I'm here with my co-host, Rob Spencer. Rob, how you doing, sir?
It is an honor to be on all the platforms that we're streaming on, of course, but we love our LFA family. A lot of new viewers here because, people that are available to watch in the afternoon may not be able to watch in the morning and vice versa. So we're excited to be on this. Extremely thankful to Jeremy Harrell, the Godfather. We're thankful to the Godfather for putting us on this time slot. Obviously, it works better for some of our schedules and all of that stuff, and we're excited to be with you. We've got a 2-hour show, but it's going to be the first hour. Paul was probably going to tell you about this. You're going to see the first hour here on LFA, and I believe the second hour will air later on.
Later today.
Yes,
yeah.
And so, that'll all kind of change up a little bit. We're leading into Sean after this first hour. So we're excited to be with you. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we get kind of crazy, kind of silly. Sometimes Eric is here with us in studio.
Well, that's
but
a perfect
we're three
segue.
dudes.
So, and I cleared this with him. So Eric is normally here and is going to be here a lot more in the morning. All three of us actually are going to be here a lot more because of the morning time slot. But Eric's daughter had to have surgery this morning on her hand, or she broke her finger it wasn't just a normal break. It was a break that required surgery. So send prayers up towards Eric's daughter that she makes it to the surgery okay. I'm even told that she's probably already in recovery at this point. But still, pray for Eric Haynes' daughter, and hopefully he'll be back with us tomorrow morning. Before we go any further, though, I want to remind everybody that the Paul Harrell program is powered by Healing Veterans and the Healing Veterans Project. This is a very simple charity for veterans. We're trying to get red light therapy to veterans. Red light therapy, also called photobiomodulation, which is, it does incredible things. It's scientifically proven. Red light and near-infrared light, what it does to the mitochondria of the cell, can help with nerve pain, can help with anxiety, can help with sleep, can help with chronic inflammation. So many things red light does. And in terms of what Healing Veterans does, we have access to a list of doctor-prescribed, so veterans who have been prescribed by a doctor this red light panel, and the VA will not cover these panels. So that's why we want to step in at Healing Veterans Project and make it happen, right? And so the VA will prescribe opioids, and they do, the VA does some good stuff, but they will prescribe opioids or modern big pharma stuff, but they won't allow or pay for the red light therapy. And so that's where Healing Veterans comes in. So you can scan the QR code on your screen there, and you can donate to Healing Veterans Project monthly. You can donate one time. You can donate annually, quarterly, whatever. And if you are a business owner or you know of a business owner that would want to partner with Healing Veterans Project, email me, paul@healingveteransproject.us. We would love to integrate with your retail side of things and allow your customers to donate when they check out. And so we would very much appreciate that, and we really are thankful to partner with Healing Veterans Project.
Yeah, great organization, and it's a 501c3, so all of your donations to them are tax deductions if you need tax deductions at this point. But of course, like Paul mentioned, if your friend or cousin or some person that you just know is a retail business owner, when you go into the to the grocery store or whatever, and it says, would you like to donate $1 to something like that? Healing Veterans Project's got a program where they can do that and integrate it with your point of sale system there, and so it doesn't cost the store anything, and they actually,
matter of fact, we can actually pay a marketing fee to them if they do incur any costs.
Sure.
So,
and they get credit for that tax deduction as well, making that donation. So anyway, great organization.
Yeah, you'll hear more about Healing Veterans Project as we move forward. But yeah, I mean, if we have a little bit of a new audience here that maybe catches the morning hours, but they don't quite get the afternoon hours. Hello, my name is Paul Harrell. Thank you for listening. I was in talk radio for 10 years in Arkansas, statewide radio, where I covered the shenanigans going on in Little Rock. And anytime I introduce myself to a new audience as a lifelong Arkansan, obviously we're based out of Arkansas, broadcasting from Arkansas, I just like to offer my apology. Maybe not me personally. I never had anything to do with the Clintons, but it's Arkansas's. But for my ancestor, I will apologize for my ancestors. The word patriot actually means from your father. I will apologize for my ancestors giving the world arguably the most powerful political family and one of the most corrupt ones at that. So we kind of wear that like an albatross. He cut his teeth here. Hillary cut her teeth here.
She cut other things as well.
Yeah,
including
vampire fangs. Anyway. So our apologies. Sorry about that.
Listen. I got to be honest with you. If you look at the platform, the 1992 Democrat platform, it's very similar to the Republican platform these days. Very similar, with obvious few exceptions in terms of like healthcare and all of that. But so Bill wasn't that bad, comparatively speaking. And then, Hillary just went left with the crazies.
Yeah.
And there's that, we talked about that diagram before and where the Democrat Party has gone further and further left. Right now, there's a huge shakeup. We didn't even really pull this for one of the topics, but it's just on my mind. There's this huge shakeup in the Democrat Party where this socialist communist wing is overtaking these more traditional Democrats that maybe are certainly on the left, but maybe leaning a little bit more toward the center on certain things. They're going by the wayside and they're losing. So the Democrats, the Chuck Schumers of the world, they've got two options. They can either leave the Democrat Party and become an independent, or they can go left with the crazies because they're running away with it right now. And I guess somebody would say that's good news for Republicans, but until we get the Save America Act and we can guarantee the security of our elections, then I don't truly trust any Democrat to count votes.
I'm pretty sure I saw where Save America Act failed yet again in the reconciliation process in the Senate. Pretty sure where I saw that on my feed last night. So we've got more of this in action, and I wish Eric were here to talk about where he has come, from being more optimistic in Thune early on versus now.
Yeah. Where
the whole time I was just like, look, I don't trust that guy as far as I can throw him. I don't think he supports the American people's agenda at all. Because in a large part, the donors, quite frankly, don't support the American people's agenda. That's why we have, we're not seeing more success. We do have, let's see, according to some reports, over 1.4 million deportations. We need way more than that, considering Biden let 20 million people in addition to what we already had here. So 50 million people here? And you look at all of these things, a bill out of Congress to ban the genital mutilation of children. Why hasn't that been passed? A simple bill in the House, in the Senate, that mirrors President Trump's executive order. Well, we don't have that. The donor class doesn't want that for some weird reason.
Oh, it's money. You know why. It's money. The transgender surgeries.
Yeah.
There's just too much money. When you look at the amount of medical facilities that have popped up since this transgender lunacy has struck us. And, we talk about, it's one of the few things that I'm truly passionate about. So I'm not going to jump the gun.
Keep your powder dry.
I'm going to keep my powder dry. But we talk about that all of the time. And when you're trying to have a rational conversation about policy and the direction of the United States, and you're having it with a person who believes that men can be women and vice versa, and that kids can choose their own gender when they're 3 years old, I can't. There's no way I think I'm ever going to be able to find common ground with you, because you're not living in the real world,
right?
So how can I sit here and sort of have this back and forth debate with you when you're not coming to the table honestly? Because they know. It's like those that stand-up comedian talking about, like, do trans women go to the gynecologist? And the doctor's like, excuse me. Hold on, let me move this to the side, because we're living in a dream world. And they're also saying that they're having their monthly cycle because they're taking these hormones and all this stuff. And I'm like, you're insane. Mm-hmm. You're insane. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but you'll find if you watch our show a little bit more, transgenderism is one thing that I'm extremely passionate about. And against.
Yeah, against.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's get that clarification.
All right,
in there.
so here's the story. This is from CNBC. Trump sours on Pirro over reflecting pool case. Won't say her job is safe. I think her job actually is safe. Here's actually a better framed shot for you. U.S. Attorney for D.C. Jeanine Pirro has reportedly just arrived. This was last night. Reportedly arrived at the White House.
She's been called to the carpet.
I think so. I mean, it may have been a planned meeting beforehand. Of course, obviously, the media is going to seize on it. But here are President Trump's comments about this reflecting pool Jeanine Pirro controversy. Listen to this.
And I was disappointed with Jeanine Pirro. Really disappointed with Jeanine Pirro. She folded like an umbrella, and people get away with things, and it's a disgrace. But we're very proud of Lafayette Park. Now we have a big decision to make. Do we take the pavers that are red, the red brick pavers, and do we change them into a granite? It's a gray granite. They're beautiful, but they're not the original. So we're going to have to make that decision. You have a good sense of taste. What would you do? Huh?
Yes, change it.
You would change the red brick into the granite.
Okay.
The granite is much stronger. Holds.
So she folded like an umbrella.
Yeah.
He's disappointed in her. Now, I will throw this CNN headline in there. Trump does not fire Pirro at White House meeting hours after saying she choked over reflecting pool case. So
is that what he just said? Did he have other comments? Because he didn't say she choked, but he did say
there may have been a follow-up question.
Okay.
Here's the deal. This happens to be about the reflecting pool that, I don't know, was that a month ago? Everybody was talking about. We actually didn't talk about it very much, but everybody was talking about the reflecting pool and the vandals. And yes, the people with total Trump derangement syndrome, there were vandals. But apparently the story now is that they didn't have enough evidence to pursue charges, and of course the judge in this case is a total leftist and doesn't want to hold anybody accountable for doing anything. And Trump's upset about it.
The way I understand it, Paul, is that they looked at things once it was drained, and someone, I guess, had provided some evidence to Judge Jeanine here that although there may have been some vandalism, this reflecting pool was poorly constructed. And maybe it's you to get what you pay for. It started out as a really small budget, all of that stuff. But, I mean, I remember what Biden's estimate was, and it was like over $300 million. And so let's just say that it takes, $30 million to do it properly, $30 million. That other $270 million would make sure that the DNC is not negative $2 million for sure, because we all understand that slush fund is going out and then coming back in. But anyway, I don't know. I haven't looked at all the evidence, but I do trust Judge Jeanine here. I think Trump, unless, again, I don't have the evidence. I'm not on the inside there. I feel like President Trump was just disappointed in the overall outcome of it, and feeling like Judge Jeanine should have pushed harder to achieve what he thought was happening, and that is that it was vandalism here. Because I think it's a lot. Maybe it's egg on your face, like you renovate this thing and it starts failing.
Yeah,
and that's ultimately with Judge Jeanine like dropping these charges, that it kind of gives a little bit of egg on Trump's face to say, okay, well, whatever. But I mean, let's be honest in what Donald Trump was trying to do. He's trying to renovate this thing that many presidents have already done. Barack Obama, what did he spend? Was it like $25 million on the thing when he was president, and it didn't even do anything, didn't even fix anything? So I understand what Trump is trying to do here. I wish those conversations could happen behind closed doors and not out there in the gaggle. And I know that's not Trump's MO, but I wish that one, because Judge Jeanine is a loyal conservative, and she's on our team. So I wish we could kind of gather our forces together here.
I think people, Trump, in this case, I'll just throw this out there: the accountability that everybody is so desperate for. Like, it just feels like we are in a desert and we are thirsty and we are looking for any drop of water that's out there to quench our thirst. And so this kind of adds to the frustration of, specifically in the wake of what we saw last week with Anthony Fauci, and knowing that this man has committed crimes against humanity, and knowing there's, in all likelihood, a 99% chance there is nothing that is going to happen to him. Even if they were to try to get him on some sort of Al Capone thing, you're looking at maximum, if he gets the contempt of Congress and the DOJ does anything, you're looking at a maximum of 1 year in jail. And this guy actually needs to be tried for his crimes. And the problem is Anthony Fauci didn't act alone. There's plenty of other intel oligarchy forces behind this entire global, fake pandemic that, stand to lose a lot if the truth comes out. So, but anyway, just in general, the lack of accountability, we're not even going after. And look, if there's no evidence to convict, right, this is America, sure, you can't convict. But the sentiment is, we can't even get the guy that vandalizes the reflecting pool. I mean, come on.
Well, with as many eyes and cameras undoubtedly that are on this pool, I don't know. I just want to wrap a bow around it for how I feel about it. I haven't seen what Trump and Pirro has seen.
Me neither.
I've not seen the evidence that they've seen, either for or against it. But I can tell you, this is not the fight that we need to be having leading into midterms.
Correct.
There are so many other bigger fish to fry, including the cost of groceries, gas. It's coming down just a little bit, but it's still way too high. This conflict in Iran. There are so many other things, and the Republican Party is basically at a standstill. So we knew that we had 2 years of Republican rule here, and it was a time to solidify all of Donald Trump's agenda items. He wrote the executive orders for them. All they had to do was codify them. We got the big, beautiful bill, which is great. There was a lot in there, but that was only one part of his agenda. Well, there were several things that were lumped into it, but suffice it to say, there were so many other things.
Voters have a really terrible long-term memory.
They do. And so what we're sitting here is saying, are the Democrats a better alternative? I can't imagine in today's society that there are people who are going to vote for a Republican in one election and a Democrat in another. It feels like the battle lines are drawn and you're voting straight party lines. I think ultimately what it is voter turnout.
Yes.
It is. Well, and election integrity, of course, that's another elephant in the room. But are the Republicans motivated to go out to the midterms? Are the Democrats motivated to go out to the midterms? And whichever party is the one that can get people out there, that's what we're going to see. I know that there's all kinds of the realignment and what's the word?
Reapportionment.
Yes,
the redistricting that took
thank
place.
You. And so we're seeing a lot of that stuff, but I don't know that that's going to be the be all end all. I think it's going to be voter turnout and focusing on things like the reflecting pool. That's not going to get voters out there.
Yeah. All right, folks. Now it is time. It is time for our latest segment. We're going to transition, pun intended, to a new segment, Trans Women Are Men. Biology, chromosomes, reality, trans women are, in fact, men. And for today's segment, we're going to turn to a WNBA coach. Rob, you sent this to me. It's a tweet by Clay Travis. We've got a WNBA coach talking about the transgender issue.
Just a little bit of background. So Clay Travis has been on this kick for a long, long time. He offered the NBA champion, this has been 5 or 6 years ago, the WNBA champion, whoever it was that year, he offered that team $1 million if they would play a high school boys team. Now, he's been beating this drum for 5 or 6 or 7 years, and I know we're going to talk about that in a second. But he's been offering like $1 million, and he said, if I can pick the high school boys team from somewhere, I'll pick it from California or Texas or whatever, one of these state champions, and if you will play them and you beat them, the WNBA champions, I will give you $1 million. Well, now he's up the ante, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But all of this started.
I mean, he's now up to $10 million.
Yeah, all of this started with Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham is now becoming as popular or more popular than Caitlin Clark, and in the WNBA. And there's only a few WNBA players that I even know their names of, but they are universal. If you don't know who Sophie Cunningham is, she's the pointer with all the memes that are going around, the blonde-haired girl pointing. Well, she was asked about what her stance is on trans, and she just said that she wants to protect girls sports, and she doesn't believe that trans women should be allowed in the WNBA. And so then you've got people that are coming out against, like, oh, everybody loves Sophie Cunningham, the rational people, the sane people,
right?
But then you've got all these people that are coming out against her, who are just the liberal leftists, the short-haired lesbians who are, the owner of that, I forget what WNBA team that were shouting.
Wait, are there lesbians in the WNBA?
So I'm told that as many as 90% of all the players in the WNBA are gay.
Wow, that is, I can't believe that. I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I tell you, shocked.
So right now, all of this dialogue, I follow sports a lot. All of this dialogue is now all the reporters are taking an opportunity to ask coaches and players what their stance on, and that's what led us into the coach of the Golden State Valkyries.
Okay, the Golden State Valkyries.
Yes.
These are her comments. Take a listen.
I know you don't have the fever again in the regular season, but coming out of the break, one of the big news stories has been Sophie Cunningham and the protests for her and protests against her. And, they had a national televised game today, and Cheryl, wore a shirt. And it's just a conversation. I'm wondering, just what do you think about it? Do you think that's good for the league? Does it detract from the basketball? Is it just noise? I'm just wondering what your opinion is.
I think, thank you for that question. I think just in terms of how I'm seeing it is, if I could answer with, like, for me, sports is about belonging. It's about inclusivity. It's about allowing everyone to be their authentic self. I'm big on that just because I have been criticized for my height, for my ethnicity. I've been in those "you shouldn't belong here" many times, and for me, I don't want that space, especially Golden State, to ever.
You don't belong in our sport.
Hey, Asian, get out of here! Oh my God.
Feel like that. So I'm all about women, little girls deserving to play, and that includes trans women. So I'm all about inclusivity.
There it goes, and she ended with a bang, Paul. I'm all about inclusivity. Yes.
Yeah. By the way, I'll add, when she was told I've been criticized for my height and my ethnicity, it was probably some African person standing over her being like, "This is MAGA country."
You know what? I consider that to be a Jesse Smollett, comment.
Like, never happened. Didn't happen.
But the ridiculousness of it. Okay, let's just be honest. There are biological differences between men and women. We understand that. You can take all the dang hormone therapy you want. You can be a woman that grows a beard because you take a bunch of hormones. You can be a man who loses all of his testosterone because he's pumping himself full of estrogen or whatever. But still, biologically, he is a man, or biologically a woman, whatever the case may be. And inherently, there are advantages. We saw it in swimming with Leah Thomas, where Leah, whatever, I can't remember what his name was, like when he was identifying, but all the dude did was just grow out his hair and change his trunks or speedos to.
I'm a female swimmer now.
Yeah, and he's like 6'5", standing there on the podium against all of these, normally height height woman. Of course, there are some tall women, but they're rare and they're not swimmers. For the most part, these women are, in their 5-foot range, and they're just looking there on this podium. It's just ridiculous. And he was ranked 423rd. I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum, and then he's the number one woman.
I think what this shows, though, is that this whole idea, even though the country, I think, in massive majority, I would even say in terms of the trans and kids issue, it's a 90-10 issue. But it shows you that all of these this woke sex religion is just waiting in the wings. In terms of the corporate, the corporations or your entertainment industries, they are still they're holding on with every ounce that they can to keep the Overton window as far as the left goes. Whereas the transanity is still here, and it's we are under no illusions as to how they will govern if they get back in power.
Paul,
under no illusions.
Bottom line is this, and somebody say, "Oh, this would never happen." Bottom line is this: the best players in the NBA, let's just say the best players in the NBA, decide that they're going to be trans, and we want a team that has 7 or 8 people, and that's what Clay Travis was. I just saw this graphic come up, so this is a perfect lead-in. But you would have all of these, and they would score 8,000 points a game, and there would be nothing the women could do to stop that. And that is not a slam against women. Okay? I could not birth a child out of my body. I can't. Women are amazing.
I just saw the graphic too. I didn't. When I saw the graphic, and I haven't thrown it up the screen yet. But the names of these WNBA teams have always bothered me. The Valkyries or the Fever or whatever their names are. And so somebody said that there needs to be. This graphic is suggesting that a good name for a WNBA team. Is this by the way, is that a real team name? No. Okay. Would be the Nashville Balls.
Because Clay Travis is from Nashville.
Okay.
That's why they've come up with this.
It's like, yeah.
Did you see those names on the screen?
The Nashville Balls starting lineup, WNBA. Go ahead, Rob.
At point guard, we've got Magica Johnson. At shooting guard, we've got Michelle Jordan. At small forward, Lori Bird. Power forward, Charlene Barkley. And at center, Shaquilia O'Neal. Oh, my God. There's so many clever, witty people out there that just come up with all this stuff. Because, of course, I don't know. Maybe AI generated
Hey, for whatever reason, Larry Bird highlights have been popping up on my feed a lot recently.
Oh, yeah, man.
And obviously, I know Larry Bird's an amazing basketball player, but somebody said that he was once quoted because he was a great trash talker, apparently.
Oh, yeah, the best.
Apparently, he claimed that the only black man that could guard him was his shadow. And he actually said that. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but if that's true, that is one of the greatest quotes of all time.
So Larry Bird used to get insulted if he only had one person guarding him that was assigned to him. And he would go over to the coach and he said, "You better get a couple of them brothers to guard me or this game's going to get ugly." And it's like, oh my gosh,
Larry Bird, man.
Yeah. But so it just highlights the ridiculousness of it. My gosh, man, there are differences between men and women. Watch an NBA game versus a WNBA game. They're both. I enjoy watching Caitlin Clark play. She's really exciting. She shoots it from almost half court. So she's
really exciting.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It is.
I can't.
And there's a lot more. There's a lot more parity there, where it seems like for the most part, the top teams, any team can beat any team on any given night. Now there are definitely better teams, but anyway, so I didn't watch WNBA at all before Caitlin Clark, but she's white, she's straight, and she's the most popular person in the WNBA, and all of those gay sisters can't handle it.
That's true. Now, I have noticed that. I also have seen that the reason that Sophie Cunningham lady is becoming more popular is because she's willing to be more outspoken, whereas Caitlin Clark isn't as much.
That's right. Yeah.
And maybe that's because she just doesn't believe in, right of center ideas.
Well, trans women are men. They're mentally disturbed men.
Well,
they need to get some help.
And keeping with this segment, okay, and this is kind of what's so odd is, you have the leftist WNBA coach talking about how, oh, no, we've got to be a place of inclusion, trying to carve out this safe space for transgender people to be in the WNBA, which is crazy. The pendulum, though, has swung so far the other direction. We now have this from Zero Hedge. Children's hospitals to begin offering restorative care for detransitioners. When Texas Children's Hospital's detransition clinic opens in Houston, it will become the first facility of its kind, giving patients who regret life-altering procedures a chance at restorative care. The facility, which has yet to announce an opening date, is part of an agreement with state and federal authorities to halt gender-affirming care at children's hospitals while offering to help those who transitioned medically. A 10-page settlement term sheet recently obtained by the Epoch Times through an open records request to the Texas Attorney General's office showed that services at the clinic will focus on multidisciplinary care. Services are to include endocrinology, surgery, fertility counseling, psychiatry, psychotherapy, and speech pathology, among others. In May and June, the Department of Justice, along with the Attorney Generals of Texas and Ohio, secured settlements with large hospitals over allegations of fraudulent insurance billing practices related to gender-affirming care for children, which is mutilation that we're calling hospitals, or we're calling health care. The hospitals denied wrongdoing in their billing practices or standards of care. This is obviously a good thing. I don't know if this particular hospital offered the surgeries to begin with, and now they're doing the. But if it does spread to other hospitals, it's pretty crazy. If you ever get a hospital that does a detransition care program, and they also participated in the transitioning, which is the mutilation of it, it's kind of crazy to think that a hospital so quickly would offer the disease and now come and try to offer the cure or the therapy.
Yeah, and Family Low in our comments here, she said she or he. Sorry, I didn't click on the picture there, but Family Low. I look at it and I say exactly that. They say we have to stop calling it gender affirming. It isn't. It's child mutilation.
Correct.
It is the destruction.
Mental illness.
It is mental illness. It is the destruction of a child's innocence. It is allowing the parent's ideology. There are no such things. There is no such thing as a 3-year-old transgender child. A 3-year-old transgender child has lunatic parents. That's the bottom line, Paul. You are pushing your ideology. There is zero chance that one of our children would ever come to us and say that they are the opposite gender of what they are. There's zero chance. Now, maybe once they get older and we have less influence on their lives
they
as
can get
parents.
Brainwashed by the predators.
There are so many conservative children, so many conservative kids that graduate high school and they go off to a liberal college, and then they think their conservative parents who voted for Donald Trump are evil because they've been indoctrinated for 4 years and they've only come home on the holidays. So, but anyway, I look at it and say, you think. And I mean, there was an interview of this crazy ass lady, and she said that our child came out as transgender when they were 18 months. You're psychotic, man. You're psychotic. Mm-hmm. That person, that is still a baby.
And you're an abuser. You are 100% abusing your child.
Barely a toddler at that point. Only been walking for a short amount of time. And so you want to say that, oh, well, you can block puberty. Paul, you understand, I understand. As much as I would like to go back in time and buy Bitcoin in 2010, we can't go back. You cannot relive something. Yep. And you cannot go back through puberty. You are destroying these children's lives. People, we're lucky. What do we get? The average age is 78. Let's call it 80 years, round it up to 80 years. You get 80 years on this planet, and your crazy ass liberal parents are destroying your life from the very beginning of it.
That's crazy, dude.
They are derailing your entire life because of their liberal ideology. You can never convince me that there is such thing as a 3-year-old who is transgender. It just doesn't exist. They don't even have that concept.
Yeah.
They really don't. And then you're talking about a teenager. What teenager likes their body? very few teenagers, especially teenage girls, and that is one of the highest numbers of growth when there was a 4,400% increase in the state of California. It was in teenage girls. When they would get 13 years old and they hated the way their body looked, they could then come out as transgender, and they weren't this weird outcast in their mind. They now belonged. They were part of this protected class, and that was the truth for so many years. But frustratingly, we allowed that to go on, and it sort of just infected the minds of these liberal parents. Could you imagine going up to Bill Clinton in the 90s, how we started this show? Can you go up to Bill Clinton in the 90s and say, hey, just so you know, about 30 years from now, you're going to have men competing against women in women's sports, and they're just going to be basically long-haired people. Wait a minute, you're talking about transsexuals? You're talking about people who have had gender surgery, who've changed their gender? Nope. Just grew out their hair and took some hormones, still have male anatomy, out there swimming against a bunch of girls, okay? So Bill Clinton would be like, you're crazy. You're crazy.
Well, he'd be like, well, if they're women, I mean, I like women, and so if they call themselves women, maybe there's something there. I don't know.
It's pretty good. It's not as good as your Tim Burchett, but it's good. You'll have to drop the Tim Burchett one
someday.
One day when you get a chance.
I gotta have some text in front of me. I can't just do it. I can't just do it.
Yeah.
Well, so this headline, just to keep everybody aware, the leftist states, they are still going at this full bore. This from townhall.com headline. This is from yesterday. Oregon is another state stealing trans children from their families. So a couple articles here we're going to hit. This says, oh, look, that thing that wasn't happening happened again, this time in Oregon, where the State Department of Human Services took a teenage girl away from her parents on the complaint of a therapist. Why? Those parents refused to cater to their daughter's gender confusion, and the state found that abusive.
Yes.
Okay? So this can actually have disastrous results.
Hey, do we have somebody up in the Pacific Northwest in here? I know there's a lot of crazy crap that happens in the state of Washington, Oregon, all of that. If you are from there, I mean, was this a story? Have y'all been talking about this type of story there? Because we were doing research for this and found this.
Yeah, the Oregon Department of Human Services took custody of a teen girl from her parents after the child's therapist filed a complaint because the parents would not affirm the girl's gender confusion. This actually is outrageous, but it's not the first time it's happened, and actually it's happened many times, and with murderous, and I think that's the term, murderous results. Here's a Substack from a pastor by the name of Michael Clary, and the title is Being Nice Instead of Godly is a Theology for Losers. He says, I published my latest piece over at The Federalist. Here it is, reproduced in its entirety. Quote, my daughter was murdered by gender ideology. Those are the words of Abigail Martinez, a devout Christian widow in California, who watched the state take her daughter away when she refused to affirm her daughter's transgender identity. Her daughter, Yaeli, was struggling with depression and her sexuality, so a school psychologist recommended she join the school's LGBT club without Abigail's knowledge or consent. When Abigail discovered what was happening, she refused to affirm her daughter's transition, so the state removed her from her home. Activists told Martinez to hold a funeral for her daughter and celebrate the adoption of a son. They told her she'd never see Yaeli again if she kept talking about God. Not long after this, Yaeli killed herself. When Martinez later testified before Congress, she said her daughter's death was a murder. Gender ideology killed her. Now, I'm going to finish.
What did it give her age? No, it just said she was a teenager.
Teenager in school. I want to finish this point real quick because I'm highlighting this story, but the point Clary is making here. Ask yourself a question: how many Christian leaders in churches have been outspoken about the dangers of gender ideology? How many pastors will boldly and unflinchingly denounce homosexuality, gay mirage, transgenderism, and the whole array of LGBT sins? Even though there is a growing movement of courageous pastors speaking out, the reality is over the last 20 years or so, many of them have been silent. He says, I'm a pastor. Now listen to this. I'm a pastor. Over more than 20 years in ministry, I've watched a theology take root in American evangelicalism that trains Christians to be silent in the face of all kinds of cultural tyranny. It's a theology that says the church is at her best when she's losing. It says we should not seek cultural influence because that would only corrupt us. Further, it says we should not seek political power because that's beneath us. Our only public duty is to do evangelism because eternal destinies are all that really matters. The culture war is just a distraction. I call this, he says, loser theology, and he says it's done great damage to the modern church. Further, it harms society by causing Christians to disengage as the greatest conscience-shaping force in our culture. Loser theology is promoted by prominent advocates, though that's not what they call it. And he talks about Russell Moore and everything else. This is great. This is a great article, but it really does go to show that we've been taught that being nice, okay, instead of godly, is a theology for losers. And I'll put it to you like this, because I actually watched Steve Deace actually talk about this. You know what that theology is actually based in? If you go read what Jesus said, he talked about the two greatest commandments. So everything in the law, the first table and the second table, are summed up in the two greatest commandments. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, understanding, soul,
That's right.
and love your neighbor as yourself. Those are great, but when you get them out of order, you sacrifice the first for the second, and that's what's going on. To be nice is to take the second greatest commandment, love your neighbor as yourself, and put it in place of the first greatest commandment, love the Lord your God. You have to get them in the right order. And when we've got it, many people have it in the wrong order because they just don't want to offend everybody. And they forget that the gospel message is great news, but it starts with bad news, which is you're a sinner and you need to repent. And anyway.
Well, and we saw that in Arkansas. So we think that this is only a blue state thing. Of course, this is California. And taking a child, a teenager, away from their birth parents, not for abuse. Now they call it abuse, but not because they're beating the child or shooting up heroin in front of them.
I want you to finish, but they call it abuse.
Yeah.
And yet they're the abusers. I mean, it is literally wicked, calling evil good and good evil. It's sick.
You pull this child into foster care. You tell her birth mom to have a funeral for her, and then and then celebrate the birth of her son. And you're just like, are you seriously just said that? And especially in light of what we now know was the outcome of it, and her committing suicide. What culpability do you have as the state? None from their perspective. No, we did the right thing. I guess it was just too late. We should have pulled her out sooner. Had we known, we would have pulled her out sooner. But just because a parent refuses to call their daughter by some other name and pretend that their daughter is a boy, just because that parent chose to do that, the state takes her away and she commits suicide. I don't know if this study still holds true because it's an older study, but it said that as many as 88% of all children who identify as transgender in their teenagers or younger, if they're left alone, detransition when they get older.
Yeah.
But going back to what I said a little while ago, that's not going to happen. It's irrelevant if you've blocked puberty, because you have permanently affected the body. If you've taken all these hormones, if you're doing all this stuff, can you imagine being a parent? You're a parent, I'm a parent. Can you imagine being a parent and saying, I need to pump my child full of drugs because they think they're a different gender and I want to affirm it. So I'm going to give them drugs. We try not to give our children Tylenol unless they absolutely need it.
Yeah.
Because you can become too dependent on these pain medications.
Bad
and all
for
of
your
that
liver
stuff.
as well.
It's bad for all of that stuff. And so what we're talking about here is parents that are permanently altering their children. And this woman, thank God, was trying to do the right thing. She was trying to say, no, you need to be how God created you. She was obviously a Christian, and she was fighting against the entire state of California. But it's not just the state of California, folks. You're fighting against an entire rotten, evil ideology that is transgenderism. We can sit and have a conversation about same-sex marriage. We're going to talk about that. I have less of an issue with that as an adult. Like you're an adult. Some of my dear friends are as a lesbian couple, and they've had these children or all of that stuff. I'm not going to sit here and pass this judgment on them. That's just my personal thing, just because I've got my own sin in my life that I've got to wrangle with. But again, you're talking about what adults are doing, and if you see this couple that I'm talking about in public, one of them looks a little bit tomboyish or whatever, but they're both females. They both consider themselves females. Yeah, and they both celebrate Mother's Day, all of that stuff. And so, I mean, I again, I'm not trying to derail that kind of thing, but I can tell you that there's a huge difference in those types of individuals versus the mind rot infection evil of the LGBTQ plus IK,
I
whatever.
agree. But so LifeSite News is reporting that support for same-sex marriage is declining in the U.S. Another poll's confirming this, that a majority of Americans still support same-sex marriage, but a new poll reaffirms a notable decline over the past few years. LifeSite News. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason I think that more people are coming off of this and they're saying, hey, I don't support this anymore. The reason I think it is because of the transgender issue. Now, that's not to say, to your point, Rob, that just because you're gay means that you believe transing kids is a good thing. But I think, and I'm
not gay.
I think the slippery. Did I say that you're gay?
You said just because you're gay, Rob.
Oh, well, to your point. To your point, Rob, just because your friends are gay doesn't mean they automatically support transing kids. I get that.
They absolutely do not, by the way.
So, and there's other people out there like that.
Yeah.
And then there are people that are gay that do support that. But I think the reason same-sex marriage is losing support is because people realize that the slippery slope is real. And I don't see how. I would love for somebody to try to convince me in a debate or whatever that absent same-sex marriage in 2012 or whenever that was, that we would have transitioning kids and calling it healthcare. And I don't think you would. I think there is no world where you don't get to same-sex marriage before you get to detransitioning kids. And it is a part of this slippery slope. It is further up the slippery slope is where same-sex marriage comes in. But I was reading something the other day in a website called First Things by Carl Trueman. Now, this article is actually talking about the United Methodist Church and how the United Methodist Church is now removing Asbury Theological Seminary as a list of institutions approved to train their ministers. The United Methodist Church is a lost cause. We get that. Everything else. That's not the point of this article, or the point of my bringing this article up. The reason I'm bringing this article up is because I learned something. Carl Trueman in this article talks about a man by the name of Herbert Marcuse. Herbert Marcuse, he says, was the guiding light of the sexual iconoclasm of 1968. So this is a brain trust guy on the left, on the Marxist left. Okay. And Carl Trueman says that Marcuse argued that gay sex, because it was intrinsically sterile and non-productive, was a fine example of revolutionary behavior that refused to conform to capitalist values. And for whatever reason, this statement has struck me in such a profound way because I find it incredibly consistent is in terms of from a leftist logical progression. Like, it is incredibly consistent that their brain trust back in the 60s was equating gay sex with protesting communism. And I think it's a reductionist to say that God is a capitalist, but I think capitalism is a term that we've coined out of the created order that God has established. And what it really truly means is, capitalism is all about wealth, but what is true wealth? True wealth is family. True wealth are kids and your family. And so when we're told in Genesis to go forth, subdue the earth, go forth, multiply, spread across the face of the earth, when we're told to do that, we do that by the means the Lord has given us, and that is through sex and procreation and creating family, which is so much more valuable and wealthy than money. But does anybody else find the significance of that? That the communists are essentially saying, yes, gay sex, because gay sex is a protest against capitalism because the union is fruitless. That to me is remarkably consistent, but it really frames it as a war, a spiritual war between the way God created people versus the way you wish things to be. It is a war against heaven.
So back in the 60s, you had this communist leader who is arguing that gay sex is, essentially the pathway because, it's sterile and non-productive. And I'm thinking,
How'd you like that for a first, like you're going to this intro to communism class or Marxist class and you're not gay at all.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, all right, we're going to fight the capitalists.
Yes.
Come here.
Yeah. Your first assignment, get down on your knees. Oh gosh, I'm going to throw up. But anywho, I don't know about all of that. I do get what your connection is and all of that. I will say that many of the leftist anti-Christian movements, all of that stuff, their main goal is the destruction of the nuclear family.
Exactly.
And so you see that they're wanting to break down that nuclear family. They've already done it in the African American community. That was a purposeful effort.
Yeah.
To do that in the African American community. And what did it do? It completely went the exact same way that they thought it would go, and now the majority of them, was it 80%, 85% of them vote for Democrats, and you're just like, the Democrats formed the KKK. They were the South, man, and I know we're in the South now, but we're very much a red state here, a Christian conservative state, although Arkansas has its faults. And back to that transgender stuff I was going to say earlier, we had a Republican governor who foolishly ran for president in 20.
You talking about Asa?
2024, I guess. Was it 2024 that he ran for president?
Yeah, the primary.
Yeah, the primary.
2023.
Yeah,
into
Asa
2024.
Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Total joke.
When all of this stuff was coming, and there was just a huge pushback to this hormone therapy and all of this stuff.
He was vetoing the legislation.
He was, and you had a conservative legislation here in the state of Arkansas that was trying to get the governor to sign off on this, saying we're not going to allow gender affirming care, but realistically, we're not going to allow child mutilation, drugging up our children. We're not going to allow that here in the state of Arkansas. And any doctor that is currently practicing that, they're going to get shut down. Well, so Asa said, oh no, we've got to make exceptions for kids that are already on it. And I'm like, cold turkey is the best thing that could happen for those children. Yeah. Stop it where it's at right now. Now, somebody would argue that maybe they know more about it than I do, but I can just tell you that if you're a boy taking extra estrogen or whatever they take for this hormone therapy, that is a further destruction of the nuclear family. Mm-hmm. Because what are you going to be? Like, you're a biological boy and you're going to grow up. I guess if you're gay, you're going to marry a man. I don't. Who the heck knows? Like, what if you have like two transgenders together? Who's gay and who's straight?
Right.
Who the hell knows? So, but are you going to have this true nuclear family? You're going to have a husband, a wife, a dog, and two kids. In a ranch style house. I mean, is that what this is going to be? No, it's not. You're going to have a life full of pumping yourself full of medication to make you into something that you're not, to make you feel like you are something that you are not. And if that is all that selfishness is, I can't imagine that you're going to be spending a whole heck of a lot of time worrying about children and raising them. And if you have children, unfortunately, they're going to be infected with your mind rot.
Yeah. No, I think you're exactly right. And, they also, this whole situation has a pretty bad demographic problem. Their demographic problem exists because they aren't having there is no fruit of the loins, and so because of that, this is why they focus on kids. I mean, their whole movement depends on converting, and it is a conversion, and it is a proselytization. That's why they're in the schools. That's why they're doing everything they can, because left to their own devices, their movement will not have the kids to convert, and so that's why we need to understand that it's more important than ever. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be right back to wrap up this hour. So don't go anywhere. The Paul Harrell program will continue here in just a moment.
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red Vive.
Why is Red Vive different? What sets it apart? What sets us apart from the standard red light panels? This is a medical grade device, and what that means is the red light bulbs and the near infrared bulbs have very specific wavelengths. If you think about the wavelength as the medicine, the 635, the 670, the 810, the 850, those were specifically chosen because those are the most powerful effectors of the cells. So those specific wavelengths, when they get into our body, when they affect our tissue, they spike energy production, they help with nerve pain control, they increase stem cell counts. There's very specific mechanisms that those specific wavelengths work at, and that's the medicine. So if you think of, say, medicine as an Advil or a specific steroid or a blood pressure medication, the wavelength is the medication. The other part of that, whenever you take a medication, is dose. Right? So you have the medication. So if you take 1 milligram of Advil, and the average dose of an Advil is 200 milligrams to 800 milligrams, it's not going to work. That doesn't mean the medicine's bad. It just means you didn't take enough. Right? And so even if you have the right wavelengths, first you have to have the right medicine, and then you have to have the right dose. And to have the right dose, you have, in light therapy, you have to have enough energy. So you have to have a powerful bulb. The LED bulbs, or light emitting diodes, have a specific wavelength, and that wavelength is the medicine. And the wavelengths that have been studied and published on that are the most powerful in affecting healing and the changes that we want to see with our bodies and our health are the 635 wavelength, the 670, 810 nanometer wavelength, and 850 nanometer wavelength. Those are all going to affect the mitochondria, the cytochrome C oxidase, and affect those powerful long-term changes and affect that downstream pathways. And that's what you get with RedVive devices. The highest efficacy, the best wavelengths, concentrated to help your health.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust to your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
Now for the lowest price ever. Kings, $19.98, Queens, only $18.98. And Giza Dream Bed Sheets, the best sheets in history, for as low as $29.98. Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you, what a concept, now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But that's not all. Order right now and we'll ship your order absolutely free.
The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, folks, thanks so much for being with us. That is all the time, basically, that we have here. We're going to throw it over to Sean, and we will be actually broadcasting the second hour later in the day. So, Rob, I appreciate you hanging out, and we're gonna push on, and we're gonna hand this off.
Yep, we'll see you in a few.
All right, sounds good, folks. We're gonna hand it off to Sean. Really appreciate you guys being with us, and we will head to hour 2. Thank you so much.
The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, folks, welcome. We're still broadcasting on a few platforms, Ex-American News, as well as now we welcome rejoin our LFA audience.
If they're watching this in the afternoon.
If they're watching us in the afternoon.
We continue to roll on this morning, which is i.e. right now for us, but we continue. It's a little odd, but it'll all work itself out.
And it'll all work itself out. In a couple of weeks, it'll all be more fluid and I believe 2 hours back to back. Appreciate it, Eli, Mr. Producer. We appreciate it. He gave us a congrats. Awesome. Sure. He said awesome. Now, and also somebody in the chat from the morning said they commented on my sword.
Yeah, a Isildur.
Yes.
Isildur's heir.
Well, so here's the deal. This is actually not Isildur's sword.
Oh, who is it?
Okay.
Who's this?
It's Isildur's broken sword that's remade after it was reforged. It was given a new name, Andruil, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Nerd.
So I'm just saying this is specifically the reforged sword.
No one knows that, Paul. No one knows that stuff.
There are some people that do.
Was it in the movie?
They're way
Was it in
more,
the movie?
Was what in the movie?
That the renaming of the sword, was it in the movie The Lord of the Rings?
No,
the
it was not.
reforging was in there, but
Right. No,
was it?
no, they did not say
Okay.
this. Okay.
Nerd.
Now hang on. Eli just texted me.
Okay.
Hang on a second. I got to read this. All right. He says.
I'll just give you real quickly. We did get an update on Eric's daughter. She's out of recovery, doing really well.
Out of surgery, in recovery.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Out of.
So your prayers, folks. We really appreciate your prayers for Eric's daughter. Surgery went well, so we're excited about that. I guess it's Eli talking about Isildur because he just said, I used to have the fighting knives of Legolas. Lost them in a divorce. Okay.
Oh, my gosh. Well, that's weird. Okay.
Maybe he didn't want me to read that on air. I don't know.
It's out there now, Eli. Sorry.
All right. So, yeah, let's go into our next segment. We've got another segment we're going to get to today. This is called Borderline Insanity. All right, trafficking, cartels, public safety. It is borderline insanity, and we have this story from the Gateway Pundit. Headline, growing number of conservatives turn on DHS Secretary Mark-Wayne Mullen over soft immigration reform rhetoric. Now, we covered this a little bit yesterday, but Gateway Pundit has been kind enough to kind of gather together, a composite of all of the outrage. Jonathan Jones is writing that a growing number of influential conservatives are calling for the ouster of DHS Secretary Mark-Wayne Mullen after comments he made over the weekend were seen as a capitulation on immigration. The criticism intensified further on Monday after Politico reported the opposition to Mullen extended into the Trump administration itself. According to the report, Mullen is facing resistance not only from outspoken conservative voices, but also from within the White House. Quote, it takes a lot to unite this administration around a cohesive point of view, an unnamed senior administration official told Politico. The person added, Mullen deserves credit where credit is due. Everyone agrees he sucks donkey butt. Okay.
Excuse me?
End quote.
That was...
Mullen deserves, quote, the person added, Mullen deserves credit where credit is due. Everyone agrees he sucks donkey butt. Okay.
Where are you reading that?
It says it right there.
Oh, but whose quote is that?
It's okay.
It's the unnamed person.
It's an unnamed person.
He sucks donkey butt. Well, I don't think I've ever heard that.
You don't really hear that every day.
I've heard of sucking donkey something else, but I've never heard that one. Interesting.
So Dasha Burns writes on over on X, DHS Secretary Mark-Wayne Mullen is facing a growing MAGA revolt, with allies accusing him of being too conciliatory on immigration despite record deportation numbers.
I don't get that.
So explain that. Why don't you get that? Because I'm going to go with the rest of the takes, but I want to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I watched. I didn't watch all of that on C-SPAN, but or was it on C? What the interview was on? I forget where it was. I didn't watch all of it. I watched a lot of the clips of it, and I think he was being a realist. I think what he was trying to say is, okay, if you are here on a work visa or a student visa or something, and you overstay that visa, but you're going through the steps to re-up that, and there's been delays in paperwork, and I know I happen to know someone who is DACA, and she was brought into this country when she was 5. She's now 32 years old, married with family. And she's married to a United States citizen, and she has re-upped her DACA. She's done. You can agree or disagree with DACA all you want to. That's fine. We're welcome to have that disagreement. But it was a protection that Barack Obama put in place, saying if you were brought here as a 5-year-old,
right,
and you've never even known whatever country you came from, like you've never even been to this country or whatever. and you've not committed any crimes and all of that stuff, then we're not trying to kick you out, but we're going to have to take some steps. And so she re-upped her DACA. Well, her DACA expired here recently, and it wasn't because she wasn't doing it. They were going through the process just like they did it every 2 years. She was showing up to any court date. She was doing everything that she could, and meanwhile applying for citizenship. And she was doing everything. Like, it was ridiculous, the stuff she was saying that you have to do. You have to go back to your origin country, and you have to plead with the court for forgiveness and ask the court for forgiveness whether, you get to come back to the United States or something like that. And I'm like, she's going to ask forgiveness for being brought across the country when she was 5? I don't know. I don't understand that. I don't mean to try to go off on this side tangent, but what I can say is that when Markwayne Mullin was talking about that, he was just like, if people are trying to do the right thing, they came here legally because they had a visa, right, a work visa or all that stuff. So a little bit different than the DACA, but just going back to what Markwayne Mullin was talking about, they came here legally. Their visa expired, but they have been taking steps to get that visa extended, and they have not committed any crime. He says all he said was, you might come into custody, but we're not going to remove you from the country. As long as you're doing the right things and you have not, because you came here legally, your stuff expired just because the court systems are so backed up on all of this stuff, and you've not committed any crimes and you're taking the steps to get it. Like that, I think rational, reasonable people realize that there are millions of people in this country that applies to, right? And many of them are patriots, love America, they want to stay in the United States, and they're trying to get everything done correctly. Again, I want to point out, they came here legally, okay? I'm not talking about border jumpers. I'm not talking about the people that Biden was flying in who were claiming asylum and all of this crap. That's not what
I get it. I don't think it's just that, though. So
there may have been other parts of this interview where, like, he was soft on it, and I just didn't see it. But that particular one, I was just like, I
think it's a combination of things. I think it's just a general attitude, and I'll get into why I think that here in a minute.
Okay.
According to the report, there's a growing consensus that Mullin is more eager to please his Democratic Party critics than to deliver on immigration agenda that President Donald Trump campaigned on.
So it says that a growing consensus. Mm-hmm. I don't like that terminology because, like, what does that mean?
A few people on X that have big accounts.
There you go.
Okay. The latest criticism of former GOP senator was sparked on Saturday after Mullin spoke about immigration reform during the National Governors Association's summer meeting in Oklahoma City. During the event, he said there was a difference between illegal immigrants pursuing legal status and jobs and those who are simply in the country illegally. Quote, if we're looking to grow our economy, we need more permanent solutions on work visas because this narrative that it steals American jobs is true in some industries. It's not true for all industries. This one made me mad.
Congress actually do immigration reform. It's been since Ronald Reagan, since we had any kind of meaningful reform.
That was
governors
actually had heard this one.
That wasn't even reform.
Yeah. Well, governors want to be a solution, and we feel like we're closer. And what I think American public loves is the fact that me and the governor of New York, the governor of Oklahoma, the governor of New York, can agree on a lot of issues. And how can we present that? And how do you think through, is there potential to fix this?
So let me unpack that. Coming from 13 years, gosh, that was a long time, in the House and in the Senate. Listen, we haven't had actual immigration reform since 1959. There's a reason. It's political. Anything that becomes political, everybody in this room is political. We understand that. When it becomes political and becomes a red issue, a blue issue, it means it's dead. If this was easy to fix, it would have got fixed. If any side was wanting to compromise in it, the Biden administration could have done it in the first 2 years they were in office when they had full control of Washington, D.C., and then we could have done it when we had full control. The problem is that it's hard to get 60, it's hard to get an agreement because no matter what you do,
he's not wrong.
It's not good enough. And so we try to get perfection on immigration bill, and it's not perfection that we're looking for. Yes, we love perfection, but that's not what politics is about. It's about negotiating and getting the best option. Plug the holes that you can plug. I worked with no labels for 2 years. 2 years. What we did when we brought people in, and we met every 2 weeks on this issue. And what we said is, here's red lines for both sides, right?
Okay, so he's not necessarily wrong about how the sausage is made or anything like that. But he did say, because we played this yesterday, I had the shorter clip, and this actually made me mad because I want an immigration moratorium. I don't want any legal immigration. I don't want any work visas. I don't want the H-1B.
Yep, I agree with that.
And to me, when he said, because he did say it, if we're looking to grow our economy, we need more permanent solutions on work visas, because this narrative that it steals American jobs is true in some industries. It's not true in other industries. I'm sorry. That is what somebody says when you've been talking to the donor class, that it's like, you can't take our hotel jobs. You can't take our farm workers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We have had 3 elections on this issue, and I don't care what the donors say. The American people in 2016, in 2020, in 2024, we've run national campaigns on what we want to happen, and now we get the excuses as, well, not every industry. And look, I think you should prioritize the violent ones first, of course. But, and I said this yesterday to Eric, like, if you were to say, well, our prices will go up if that happens, well, actually, if you had more deportations, I think, yes, there may be some farm costs that increase and food prices could go up more, but you also could potentially have rent and real estate. Now, you would speak to that more than I would know. That could potentially plummet as well if you had it, 20 million. Like, Biden let in 20 million people. That obviously affects housing, doesn't it?
Well, and I would just ask that people look at the lens, look at it through a different lens. Starting in 2020, when Biden was elected, we're going to do that in quotes.
Yeah.
And so really when he took office in 2021, we had 4 years where it was crazy lunacy what they were doing. They were literally sending planes and picking up folks from different countries and bringing them to New York City and putting them up in 5-star hotels and giving them $4,500 a month, feeding them, clothing them, giving them driver's licenses and all of that stuff. And I just said that, okay, you've gone so far to the ridiculousness with this CB1 app, and there was I'll never forget. I talked about it. That white guy who made up a name, said he was in Honduras or something like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, someone kind of. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
1 second.
Yeah, I'll keep talking here. And so essentially, what we had is just this overcorrection here. We have all this overcorrect. Sorry, we had a leak here in the studio, and the plumbers are showing up, and they're kind of yelling down the hall. So if I seem distracted, that's what it is. But anyway, ultimately, I think that what we saw, in the first 2 years of the Trump administration, may have been just a reaction to the ridiculousness of the 4 years, as opposed to overall immigration. And the reason that I bring that up is what I'm trying to say is that I think that there is an effort to lump those 4 years, people being flown in and just given all this money. I think there's an effort to lump that in, with people who have been here for a lot longer. And I'm not trying to say that length of time in this country should be the deciding factor. But again, if you're in this country, you're trying to become legal, you have a protected status, whether it be DACA or whatever. If you're in this country and you're trying to get yourself, with citizenship, and you're either work visa, whatever. I don't think those should be lumped in with the people that said I'm in fear for my life and I'm claiming asylum and I'm gonna go. Yeah. I'm gonna be flown into the United States, or I'm gonna bump across the border. And so ultimately, Paul, but the point that I was trying to make is that I think that you cannot take an overall look at immigration by what was allowed during the 4 years of Biden, because I don't think everybody fits in that same one. I'm a conservative. I am against illegal immigration, and I know I'm in the minority when I say that correction, but I think that's what Mark Wayne Mullen is saying, is that this has got to be fixed and not politicized.
I apologize. I had to step out. The studio got invaded by some plumbers. Our AC backed up over the weekend, and we had flooding, and so then we had to have the AC guy out yesterday to fix the the flooding or whatever. And then for whatever reason, we got that fixed, but then the sink backed up, and now that's being fixed now. So
I'll be taken care of. We have a great landlord here, so
absolutely.
she's getting it taken care of.
Apparently, responding to the backlash, from these remarks, Mullen posted a statement on X Saturday reaffirming no amnesty for illegal aliens ever. We are a nation of laws, and if you're illegally present in the United States, you will be detained and deported, period. But the post did little to calm many critics. Legendary former Border Patrol agent Gregory Bavino criticized Mullen for highlighting nearly 900,000 naturalizations over a 12-month period. In Bavino's view, celebrating legal immigration without addressing how much a failure to deliver on deportations could affect the midterms. He said, every time I look up, I see a new terrible answer or thought coming out of Mark Mullen's mouth. He proudly announces nearly 900,000 naturalizations in 12 months, 95% third world immigrants, then lectures us about the legal process. So here's the reason why. This is what I was going to get into. The reason why people are so hypercritical of Markway Mullen, and I don't necessarily think it's unjustified. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with what you said, and I miss a part of what you said. I get it, though. I get it that there is a legal component to it. That birthright citizenship ruling, okay, we literally have lost our country. Yeah. They have said that the whole world has the birthright to be an American, which is absolutely insane. They say that the 14th Amendment, which was written for slaves to become fully assimilated, now applies to everybody in the world. So we have literally got a legal precedent saying that our social compact in the Constitution is a suicide pact, and people don't want to hear about the nuances. And I think specifically for the midterms, it is not wise to go into this, to go into these type of capitulations. I personally don't from a messaging standpoint because of that Supreme Court ruling. Everybody is hypersensitive because of that Supreme Court ruling. Here's a few more takes. Ned Ryan. Can we get a new DHS secretary? Todd Starnes from Fox News, radio host, or he used to be with Fox News. But that's not what you told the governors today in response to the no amnesty ever. Are you deporting all illegals or just the worst of the worst? If you don't have the stomach for it, resign. Here's Megan Basham, author of Shepherds for Sale, says, what I want to know is, who did these guys speak to before they went to D.C.? How do they continually get the mood of their base so abominably wrong? No one wants this except the Chamber of Commerce, which suggests to me that this is the only people they're listening to. Again, and that's in response to the whole naturalization thing. And that, I'm telling you, the donors really have their ear here. Robbie Starbuck says the weakness he projects is disturbing. I hope the president immediately considers a replacement. Nick Sorter, Markway Mullen is once again encouraging illegal Haitians and aliens with temporary protected status to seek permanent residence. Now, this is in response. So this is this is the second time he's done this. This is after the Supreme Court said you can deport the Haitians. And we remember they're eating their dogs or eating your cats, and the left says no, they're not. But then there's actual town hall meeting evidence that it was happening. That it was happening. So I guess he needs to be. I mean, I don't expect him to get fired, but in terms of a messaging to the base, which is very demoralized in some instances, that Supreme Court decision should mean that our officials are like, we're going to do everything we can to reverse the demographic replacement of this country in spite of that decision, every single thing we can. And instead you're not getting that here. And so anything he says is going to be amplified because people want their country back. That's my take on it. And I could be wrong, but that's
well, I mean, I guess maybe I'm just, because I have a personal connection with an individual, like I can see both sides of it here,
and I understand that.
I do think that there has been a concerted effort, especially during Biden's 4 years as a Democrat, a demographic replacement, as you say, because we knew what they were doing. They were losing voters. They were losing African American men,
definitely.
And more black men voted for Donald Trump in 2024 than have ever had before.
You mean they voted against a black woman?
They did because she was
a black woman.
She was black for that. She was also Indian for when she ran for senator of California. So who knows what she is? And Donald Trump was just obliterated for saying we don't really know what Kamala is.
I remember that. That was great.
And I was like, man, this is why Trump, he usually gets it right, on that stuff. And so anyway, But they're losing these demographics that they had. They were losing college age, certainly males. College age males were coming out. It was cool to cheer for Donald Trump in 2024. Like it was, and it wasn't just because my algorithm. The numbers backed it up, and so we saw that. And then I think that when you see all of the lunacy that happened over those 4 years, we needed some kind of correction, and I just don't know. What the solution is. I can tell you the H-1B visas. I loved that he put the $100,000 on that, but then he took it away. Quietly. And I thought,
you mean if companies companies want H-1Bs, they got to pay $100,000 for
$100,000. Like if you want to hire,
and they backed off of that.
Right. If you want to hire a cardiologist from India and pay them $100,000, which would be $200,000-$300,000 less than a native born American cardiologist. You're saving all of this money. Are you willing to pay that $100,000 to get them here? Now, some hospitals would, because they would do the math and it's a one-time payment and all of that stuff. But I loved at least the effort of it. And it was, hey, we're not going to allow American citizens to be replaced with these temporary workers.
Right.
Without
money. And, there's a lot of people on the right that still had a problem with that. End the whole thing. And so you could even say that, well, the $100,000, like making companies pay $100,000 per worker was a compromise that then was walked back and said, okay, we're not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, and I agree. I mean, it was the compromise, and it was better than doing nothing.
Correct.
Which is what we're doing now.
I would agree with that. It was,
and they're allowing it. And I've shared this on the show previously, but my family and I last October went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Which, if you've never been to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, is gorgeous.
No. Here we go.
It's in the Smoky Mountains.
Here we go. Now, Rob Spencer is an Indian aroma connoisseur. You've got to keep this in mind.
I can't believe you said that, Paul.
Yeah, that he.
I can't.
No, I'm saying you like the smell of Indian food.
I do not. I don't like anything about that, and I'm not.
Go ahead, tell the story.
I'm not trying to be racist. It's a mere observation here. So we're, it was very hot. And, in October, it's a catch-22. It's kind of like April. April in Arkansas, Tennessee, here in the South, like it could be really, really hot in October, or it could be cold. Mm-hmm. Same thing with April, right? Just kind of the opposite ends there, spring versus fall. But we're there, and it's 100 degrees in October. And we're standing in line for Anarchista. I don't know if you've ever been to Gatlinburg, but it's a little bit like of a theme park that's there, Anarchista. And you have to ride this bus up to this mountain, and they've got roller coasters and all that stuff. It's okay, but it's not the greatest thing. My kids, it was just a lot of walking. But we're standing in line just to get into this place, and we're standing in line for a good hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And all I can see are Indians. And I'm not talking about Native Americans. I'm talking about from the country of India. All I see, Indians. And then you're like, well, there's a couple of white people. There's a couple of black people, a couple of Asians, all of that stuff. But
so
it's almost all Indians.
The theme park was essentially Camp of the Saints.
Yes. And it stunk. It smelled, oh my goodness. I don't know what it is in that culture where we don't bathe, we don't wear deodorant, something.
Or it's more like, instead it's like a lot of oils.
Maybe. I don't know.
Like
I don't know what the hell it was. But
oil-based. Our fragrances in the West are more alcohol-based.
I don't know, man. But, I mean, I should have taken some Right Guard deodorant spray and just walked around and doused them, But anyway, so we're standing in this line, and it's just rotten. It's just ripe, And I'm looking around, and these people are a lot of them are in shorts and t-shirts, but many of them are in what's it called, a burqa,
whatever,
parka, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, it's not a burqa. Well, I guess it could be. I mean, there's Indian Muslims, right?
Well, sure, but these were just they're wearing this thing, and it's like that looks like it's wool. Mm-hmm. It looked like a freaking potato sack, and I'm like, my gosh, man, you're just baking in there, and you're. Yes, festering up this odor, you know?
A musk, if you will.
Oh, you know what? That's a friendly way of putting that it smelled like rear end out there.
Wow.
It smelled like underarm and rear end.
This is great.
Yes, and it's just every time I've kind of forgot about it until you bring this up. But anyway, I looked around. Ultimately, this is my point, Paul. It's a long story to say this. I looked around and I just said, probably every one of these here are H-1B visas, that they were brought into this country because they're cheap labor and intelligent people. It's not like that there's a deficiency here. I'm sure if you put some test scores there, I don't know, I don't know how it works out. But regardless, you're brought into this country because you're cheap, and they can pay you less than they can pay a native-born American. And on top of all of that, you're vacationing at the same time that I am here in this location, and and on top of all of that, you have not showered and bathed recently, or if you have, you've put some stank back on here, sitting here sweltering. And that's the least of my worries, because I think about, all right, that person may be a physician who took our job, like South Park would say, who has taken the position because they're cheaper labor.
Yeah.
Well, that's just one aspect of it. Think about every other aspect in industry where that has been allowed as well.
Well, look at this story. I don't want to be all negative, but here is this Fox News headline from yesterday. Headline: Trump DOJ unleashes largest denaturalization effort in department history and says it's only the beginning. Complaints allege attempted murder, child sexual abuse, and marriage fraud among naturalized citizens from 17 countries. So they write, the Department of Justice is moving to revoke the citizenship of more than 24 individuals. So 20.
Yeah.
The exact number is
25.
25.
There we go.
I mean, compare that
with 900,000.
Compare that with the headline: largest denaturalization effort, and I'm sure it's going to continue past 25 individuals. The complaints announced today allege that these individuals secured naturalization through fraud, concealment, or other unlawful conduct. So, yeah, you can do that, get naturalized through fraud. But let's talk about, like, Minnesota. Let's talk about California. Let's talk about all the fraud that's happened from naturalized. Like, we need to be – I think the people that committed the fraud in Minnesota and on everything else, it needs to be, like – we need to pursue denaturalization for those people, not just if you're defrauding, the naturalization process. I think all options need to be on the table. But
well, Paul, what do you think about this? So someone gets their American citizenship, they've gone through the pathways, and then they start committing massive fraud against the United States government, as we saw with, say, in Minnesota and the Somali community there. And I imagine that many of them are here in the country legally. Some were even born here because there's been such an influx there of the Somalian community. And so let me ask you this. If those people are committing massive frauds, and I'm talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, and in many cases I think it was billions and billions, and I also agree with Elon Musk, as I've said before. I think that the amount of yearly fraud, when you take everything into account, being committed by all United States citizens, including native-born United States citizens, is close to $1 trillion. That's what I truly believe. But anyway, hundreds of millions of dollars you're defrauding the United States government of. Should you be denaturalized? Should they take your citizenship away? Or should you simply serve prison sentence just like any other United States citizen? And I could hear an argument for both ways.
I can hear an argument both ways, but I mean, when you look at the overall strategy of the replacement and what we have imported, I think reversing course would at least you would consider that as an option, because this is a national security issue. When you really get down to it, the immigration policy is a national security issue, and we're going to talk more about the immigration or the fraud here in just a moment, but I don't want to skip over this. I don't want to skip over this story because I know you guys are going to love it. Headline: ABC figures out a way to make The View even worse by
for the love
bringing
of
back
God.
The last season of The View is a thing. It's happening, and they're bringing back Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh my God!
The folks of ABC have decided that The View is not horrible enough in its current form and have decided to bring back former host and perpetual Trump derangement syndrome sufferer Rosie O'Donnell. Do the executives at ABC enjoy making the American people suffer? That this decision makes it look that way.
So is it confirmed that the 30th season will be the final one for The View?
I believe that I heard that this is it. The first headline I saw said, Rosie O'Donnell confirms season 30, and I think it's the final one.
Here's the interesting thing. Do you know that they get about 2.5 to 3 million viewers per episode? That's how many crazy people are watching these cackling hens.
Got to get their charge.
Yeah,
their liberal charge up for the day, so then they can take to Facebook or whatever and
I just
spew the nonsense.
But there's a lot of people. It's a lot of viewers. When you've got CNN shows that are getting like 400,000 people viewing it, which is more than we get on this show. So I'm not sitting here, but I'm also not network television.
Exactly.
And so
apples and oranges.
Apples and oranges. And so, but they're bringing back this desert troll and and having her sit up there and cackle with the rest of them. I mean, you know what? Just burn a fiery death right here. The show should burn a fiery death in their final season if it is in fact that.
So now it's time for a new segment, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for something we like to call, and we hopefully you're going to like to call it. It's going to be a recurring segment. It's time for Taxpayer Barbecue. For today's segment of Taxpayer Barbecue, we bring you a story from the Discern Report, kind of reminding you of what actually happened with the fraudulent daycares, but this time we focus on Queens. So if you walk the streets of Flushing, Queens on a weekday afternoon, you will find storefronts locked tight, windows covered, and rooms that look like they have not seen a living soul in weeks. Mm-hmm. Yet these same places have billed Medicaid for tens of thousands of patients and hundreds of millions of dollars. Welcome to New York. So we talk about California, we talk about Minnesota.
Yeah.
Welcome to New York's medical fraud capital, where empty social adult daycare centers treat the taxpayers like an open ATM.
Well, think about this, Paul, just going off of that first paragraph. Hundreds of millions of dollars in one aspect of government, such as Medicaid fraud,
to your point,
in one city. Okay? You can't tell me that this is not $1 trillion worth of fraud. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me that Elon Musk is not right about that. Think about what could happen if we were to balance. I mean, you're not going to get rid of all of that fraud, but my God, man, if we'll quit just throwing money at everything, could they reduce our taxes? Look at our tax rate. I am taxed at almost 40%, Paul. Almost 40% of my income is taxed. And I'm putting a drop in the bucket compared to some of these other people, but I feel like I've got a right to say something when I see potholes in the street that haven't been fixed, but then you see hundreds of millions of dollars going to these Somalians and even Americans who are committing this fraud. It's sickening.
A 1-mile radius of this East Asian immigrant neighborhood holds 77 social adult daycares. Together, I've never even heard of a social adult daycare.
Oh my gosh, there are a few legitimate ones where they basically drive a bus around or a van, and they pick up senior citizens so that they can come and play cards and play checkers or whatever, so that they're not sitting alone.
Okay, so together they pull in more than $100 million a year from Medicaid. That is 14% of the entire state's daycare spending. From 2018 through 2024, the total hit $733 million. Several of the biggest operators each claim between $20 million and $45 million, while reporting patient counts that stretch belief.
Yeah.
So here's one of them. Living Well Daycare took $27 million for over 26,500 patients. Bao Keng Adult Daycare claimed $32 million for nearly 44,000 patients. Sunrise Senior Service topped the list at $45 million for almost 57,000 patients. The New York Post walked into these places and found empty tables, dimmed lights, and workers who chased reporters out or refused to answer basic questions. One care worker at Bao Keng said she sees 100 or 200 patients a day. Then she stared at security monitors showing every common area empty. At Mary Adult Daycare, a masked worker simply told the Post to leave. None of these particular centers have been formally charged. This is the point. The system is so broken that emptiness and multi-million-dollar buildings can coexist without immediate consequence. You talk about denaturalization. I mean, in this case, we're talking about what? The Asian enclave in places of New York.
Well, his next line of the next paragraph says it all. This is not a few bad apples. It is the orchard. We're seeing massive fraud. There is no way in the world 1 square mile has 77 legitimate adult daycare centers.
Right.
It just doesn't exist.
I mean, so this is such a scam. I mean, it's a formulaic scam. It's a process. It's a way of life. I guess that's what we should say. This is a way of life for these immigrants and for these, and I know I'm sure some of them are actual citizens, but it's kind of wild. It's like, hey, come here, we'll get you a business, and it's a fake business. It's organized crime, is what this is.
Well, it's this Bao Kang here. This guy, Bao Kang, his running this adult daycare. Well, I mean, let's just be honest. From his perspective, I don't think that he truly thinks that it's such a crime, because stealing from the government is different than stealing someone's wallet. In a lot of criminals' minds, they would never steal someone's wallet. But hey, if they're going to give us this money, think about this, because those Medicaid benefits have been proven that they're going to illegal immigrants.
Yes.
Well, so you're not going to have a Social Security number for all these people. Just say that you're billing for this stuff with Medicare. Maybe you're just turning in a list of fake names here, or they've got databases and systems where these individuals who are legitimately receiving Medicaid or Medicare benefits, and they've hacked a database that had all of their names and addresses and stuff, and they're saying that those people are coming when those people are really sitting at home, or they're in a nursing home, they're not getting out or something like that, or they just don't exist, whatever the case may be. But I just don't think that they view it the same. It absolutely is. It's much worse, right? But they're saying, hey, well, we're stealing. The government's going to keep giving me the money, so might as well. If you're making $32 million a year, it's going to be pretty hard not to take advantage of that, to keep that money flowing. They're frauds. If they're here illegally, they need to be gone, and if they're here legally, they need to be in prison.
Yeah, I completely agree. In other news, we have this headline from Economic Collapse saying that that Chuck Schumer has blinked as Democrats cave on shutdown. One of the things that happened yesterday is they once again, kicked the can down the road, passed another continuing resolution to fund the government, I think, through December, or it's going to run out of the middle of December or something like that. And so this is no surprise. This headline, Chuck Schumer blinked again with the midterms breathing down their neck. Senate Democrats suddenly decided that keeping the lights on in Washington was a reasonable path forward. Well, the last time they shut down the government, the Democrat Party got the blame, and they would get the blame, of course, this time.
Well, because they caved.
And right now they are there's no way they would ever shut down the government now, because they want all of the positive publicity they can get.
Yeah.
And they think that they're in a good position to win the midterms. No doubt they think that. And obviously they have history on their side, but they also have the compounding, ongoing war or conflict or whatever you want to call it with Iran. And then we do have, there is a legitimate, I went to the store, my wife went to the store yesterday, and she came home, and we spent $150, and we looked at what we got for it, and it's just like, how is this $150 worth of groceries?
Yeah.
It is a real thing. So the Democrats are not going to shut down the government. They wisely decided not to from a political strategy standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But here is something that few people are talking about. This headline, the real reasons why funding for the Democrat Party is collapsing. I don't know if you've heard this, but people are starting to connect the dots, and they're saying that maybe when Rubio and others defunded USAID, not only has there not been a rap song in the top 100 for the last year, which is a whole nother conspiracy theory that I think is legitimate about what industries were being propped up. They're now saying that the Democrats don't have any money. Recent polling suggests that expectations of a blue wave in Congress for the 2026 midterms are crumbling fast. As we examined recently, the Democrats are facing one of the biggest financial shortfalls in DNC history. The organization has around $16 million of cash on hand for campaign operations after debts are counted. The Republicans have over $129 million in cash on hand with zero debt. In terms of super PAC money, the Democrats have $334 million to draw from, while Republicans have $1 billion. The funding disparity could not be more obvious, but what is the cause? What happened to Democrats' massive cash apparatus? The same system that raised over $1 billion for Kamala in 2024? It's almost as if the money simply disappeared. Some theories suggest that institutions like USAID were funneling cash into the DNC through various political NGOs and subsidiaries or subsidies. There is some validity to those claims. Groups tied to NGO networks like the former Arabella Advisors, which manage large 501c3 funds handling over $1 billion for advocacy, ballot measures, and political activity, saw scrutiny after restructuring after Donald Trump took office. These management groups contracted support for Democratic-aligned causes, messaging, voter mobilization, and infrastructure. One of the biggest supporters of the Arabella Advisors was Bill Gates, his foundation, which cut ties with Arabella last year. Arabella ceased operations in November of 2025 due to investigations into dark money funding. Interestingly, Democrat coffers have suffered significant declines after Arabella dissolved and rebranding as Sunflower Services. The organization also had a numerous overlapping ties to USAID.
There you go.
That's what it is.
There's your smoking gun.
And then you've got Act Blue, which was enabling their credit card processors were allowing foreign credit cards to be used.
That's right, and they were being listed as American citizens. Like that, you ever seen this where the reporter will knock on this elderly woman's door and said, "Hey, did you donate 14 times to Act Blue?" And it's like, I don't even know what that is. Yeah, like it said you donated 14 times, and you gave hundreds of thousands of dollars. And she's like, "Honey, I don't have that money. I'm on Social Security." And you think she's donating to Act Blue? No.
Have there been mass arrests surrounding that? That's another great question.
No.
Where are the mass arrests surrounding those?
There's been no accountability. Very disappointingly, there's been no accountability.
I just want to double check that. Act Blue arrests. Just real quick. Do we have anything? So Act Blue, the major Democratic funding.
No criminal arrests.
Yes, no criminal arrests. So, yeah.
There it is, folks.
Yep. So you got that. So these are things that should have already happened. I know they're weak on their funding, but they should also be basically put to shame and investigated, tried, and put in jail.
Well, just think about this. Think about the Act Blue that was receiving money that was donated for the Palisades fires in California.
Yeah.
So they had these fires, and they raised $100 million to go directly to the people, and Act Blue was getting money out of that. You're like, what is Act Blue doing?
Yeah.
Act Blue funds political campaigns. So you're taking donations that were supposed to go to people who had their house burned down.
Yeah. And
you're taking those donations and you're just funneling it back to Democrat politicians.
It's insane.
And we know that that's happening. And then they came out, you remember that, I'm not trying to get on the fire situation, but they came out and just said, "Oh yeah, we're going to have permits, we're going to have them done a lot faster," and all of there's been like 2 houses. I mean, double check me on this, but the last I heard, there's been like 2 or 3 houses in the entire Palisades that have been rebuilt, and that was what, 2-3 years ago. Yeah. These Palisades fire, and don't even start me on Maui. That is a land grab if I've ever seen
100%
one.
It was. Folks, we're going to take a break real quick. We're going to reset here. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back here in just a moment.
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red 5.
My name is John, and this is my beautiful wife, Lori, and this is our Star Wars Ewok. His name is Scout, and we have Scout for about 11 years now, and we started noticing about 3 years ago he started slowing down. He was unable to jump on the bed. He was kind of a little bit grumpier, And when my daughters, Macy and Mariah, would take him on walks, he would walk for about, 30 yards, and then he'd lay down, and they'd carry him the rest of the way. So I heard about Pet Club 24/7 and about the products from a gentleman that I really trust and share a friendship with. And he mentioned to me that they have products that are going to help him with his arthritis, help him build his immune system. And I said, okay, no problem. Let's try them out. And I kid you guys not, within about 2 to 3 days, we started noticing a little difference. And then we took Scout on a walk probably about a week after we started using the products, the mush puppies, and he would walk the entire way. He would walk at least a mile, and it's just been completely amazing. He's a new dog. He's 11 years old, which is around, 80 years in dog years. And he's just happy. He's more energetic. He's not the grumpy old man he used to be. And we're just so thankful. And it was perfect timing because we lost our boxer Yankee about 1.5 years ago. And it was really hard on us. So I'm so thankful for Pet Club 24/7 for the products that they offer. Imagine if you could have your best friend around one more day or one more week or even one more year. I'm so blessed and thankful that we were able to find this company and find these products for Scout. So thank you guys. Give it a shot. We appreciate you. God bless everyone.
The other things that we're seeing, more and more use for is even vascular issues. So one of the mechanisms that red light, near-infrared light, or red Vive works is stimulation of the mitochondria and stimulation of nitric oxide production. So when nitric oxide is released in cells, it vasodilates cells. It reduces inflammation. It moves blood. It brings blood flow to areas. So folks that have issues with ulcers or burns or wounds, it can help stimulate increased blood supply, and you need blood to heal. So that can open up different avenues for peripheral artery disease, for neuropathic pain syndromes. And so that's one of the other areas for nerve injury or nerve pain that we can leverage this type of medicine.
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red Vive.
The Paul Harrell Program.
Sorry about that, folks. I know we had a little some delays in our ads, and I apologize. Bathroom breaks hit a lot different in the morning than they do in the afternoons. Here is we're going to continue our discussion. We got this really interesting situation where finally this Anthony Fauci stuff and just the crimes against humanity that he committed are breaking through to new areas of the public domain, like like sports ball. This is a big deal when Aaron Rodgers is with Pat McAfee, and they base in Aaron Rodgers and is breaking through to the sports world, which is, people who are obsessed with sports are not obsessed with politics, right? I mean, I like sports, but I'm obviously politics is my job.
Yeah. I may be a hybrid because I'm kind of obsessed with both.
Okay, so they do exist, but there's a lot of people.
They're rare,
right? So you got some normies out there who are just not really informed, and they're getting informed about Anthony Fauci's crimes based because of Aaron Rodgers and what he's doing.
Right.
So
just FYI for our non-sports fans, Pat McAfee is either the highest paid or the second highest paid person at ESPN. He just signed a $60 million a year contract. That's how, when you got other people getting laid off, like everybody loves Pat McAfee, and he's unique. He marches to his own beat, all of that stuff. Well, Aaron Rodgers, again, if you're not familiar, refused to get the jab, and just really held strong. Came out, and at that time he treated his COVID with ivermectin. Yes, he he did all of that stuff that we were, that people that were getting villainized for, and so he's been obviously vindicated, and what is what we're seeing on all of this stuff. So that is the precursor here, and this, of course, was right after Fauci went before Congress.
A couple times today, because you've been very open about coming back for this year, last rodeo, and you talked about your wife saying, hey, have another year. Mike McCarthy being here, obviously a big deal. Can you tell us about the mindset of coming into your last season? Like, that's a real thing, it feels like, because is everything better? Is everything funner? Is everything more awesome? Like, how do you kind of view this year versus maybe the years of the past?
I'm going to plead the fifth.
Okay. Okay.
Like that. The question had nothing to do with COVID, but
it was awesome.
Yeah.
Because McAfee wasn't going to ask.
No, he wasn't going to. But the question had nothing to do with it. It's about playing his final season.
And he may have McAfee may have wanted to ask it later on.
Maybe. I doubt it, though.
It's great that he's like, I'm just going to start off. We're gonna go there immediately.
Absolute coward, Tony Fauci. Absolute coward.
Yeah.
Hey, it's back, baby. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, 111
You
times.
got a pardon and you're in front and you pleaded over 100 times at the White House? What are you scared of, Tony?
Yeah.
I thought you were the science.
Yeah.
I thought you were I am science, and you get up there and you can't answer a question?
Yeah.
What are we doing? And how much time did the network spend to that? How much time did they spend on my responses every week, on my vaccination status, on Taylor and Travis's wedding? Did they do even a minute? Did they do even a minute on Tony Fauci?
No, I don't think I've heard anything.
I bet they didn't.
But on that note,
then there was another scandal this offseason too, involving a voter for MVP, for Coach of the Year. How much time did your network spend? Where's your camera? Did your network spend on that?
Our network.
I wish I could Fauci. Go back to Fauci. This is awesome.
Go back to Fauci?
Yeah.
Go back to the coward Tony Fauci and science?
Hold on now.
Who's spending the entire time writing in his diary about how fun it is to be famous? You got to be kidding me.
Okay, so on that note.
What are you going to say about me now?
Debate him.
What are you going to say about me
No,
now?
I got no debate here. You had a 500.
No, seriously, what are they going to say about me now? Now you can't talk about the COVID stuff because obviously it was made, in a lab in China. That's like not even questionable anymore. Tony Fauci is an absolute criminal. I'm on good terms with my family. I'm on good terms with my family. What are you going to say now? What are you going to say now?
I want to let you know. It's been a fun ride for you, I would say.
It's been a great life and a great career. And it's nice to be sitting on this side now, especially after that coward played the fifth over 100 times. I thought you had a pardon there, Tony. Why couldn't you answer one question the entire time?
Okay, we got 4 minutes until the hard out.
Yeah, I got 4 more minutes of it. We keep this shit going. Anything else? I got at least 4 minutes.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good for Aaron Rodgers to not let it go. And I'm glad he even called out ESPN because obviously ESPN was all about that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're part of the corporate structure that got their marching orders, saying we're going to shut the country down. And, sports was radically different. Remember when you tried to go to a football game during COVID and it was like, I mean, that was just who even wanted to go watch one, even if you kind of knew that this was all hype at that point by September, and it was kind of all fake. Still, all of the restrictions and where you're going to sit. I mean, it was just so ridiculous.
Well, I mean, it was in the same locations where you have to wear a mask into the restaurant. And you can take it off at the table.
Eat. Yeah,
because that keeps COVID right there. As long as it's on your table,
it's just right there.
It's just right there. And these people were going outdoors, like people restaurants that were trying to stay in business, and so they had outdoor seating out there 6 feet apart, and they were still getting shut down by the health department. But yet liquor stores were still open. You could get all of your sustenance there you could get, but you couldn't get seeds in Michigan if you wanted to plant your own corn. Couldn't get those.
Yeah.
Because that was a restricted area.
Yep.
You couldn't get cucumbers if you were going to plant those. No. But yet we were the ones that are in a cult. Spare me.
We got about 5 minutes left. We're going to get to our final segment of the day. It is time for the Fourth Amendment funeral. To remind everybody, the Fourth Amendment funeral, to remind everybody what the Fourth Amendment says. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Which brings us to this. Headline from the Minnesota Star-Tribune. Vandalism hits flock license plate cameras in many Minnesota cities, 8 in Winona, and 6 in Duluth. Law enforcement agencies in Edina and Eden Prairie and Plymouth. And anyway, they've got similar incidents. People are tired of being spied upon, and so they are acting out in civil disobedience or vandalism. Civil vandalism. Yeah. Is that even a thing? The issue here, though, folks, is that we do have a Supreme Court ruling back in June of this year, and they outlawed the geofence warrants, meaning if you're going to use geofence data in your law enforcement, you have to have a warrant. So compare that with the flock cameras and the data centers. These flock cameras, Rob, are reading your license plate. Billions. Cities are capturing billions of captures a month. It's not just the license plates; they're also reading your face and your VIN number of your vehicle. All this is being swept up in many cities. And it is the death of the Fourth Amendment. It is literally designed to take your freedom away. And the only way you could reform it is if you put some sort of warrant requirement on there. But even if you put the warrant requirement on there, your habits and patterns are still being collected without any of our consent.
Right. And I've got some mixed feelings on one aspect of it. And I think about, like as a father, my greatest fear is that one of my children will be kidnapped,
Right.
And I'm definitely a helicopter dad, and I'm 6'3", I'm 240 pounds, built like a linebacker. I'm not a parent that I would say a predator is going to be searching it for. But it's still, but your children, are in danger. And if one were to ever get kidnapped and this sort of these flock cameras could find them as the car is speeding across town or something like that, then I would be all for it. But that's just not what's happening. We're seeing that as I said off air, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yes.
And people that have this power are using it. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's incorrect. As we were talking about, a woman got wrongfully arrested because of a flock camera, and it was actually not her, wasn't her vehicle. And so it's not perfect, and there's people that are getting their lives ruined, or at least their names dragged through the mud over these cameras. So until the technology is better, until there's restraints on this, and the Supreme Court has put those restraints on there, it's just not being adhered to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, I don't even care if the technology gets better. I don't think we should be putting a camera on every corner in the name of public safety. And I know those instances exist. Hey, you could catch this, you could catch that, but
we already have that right now with these cameras, right. Red light cameras and stuff.
Yeah, there's already red light cameras. Now the difference here is you can set it to where if you do have a warrant on a license plate, and the AI can this is the license plate that has a warrant, there are ways to do it like that. I mean, I know people are going to want that. This is a technology that is being abused, but it will be abused even more so than now. This is going to be abused in ways that we cannot possibly imagine, ladies and gentlemen. And it's only the beginning. And we keep asking, what are all these data centers for? We don't really have a good answer. And it could be to be able to process all of this biometric data in real time, a real-time information stream to process everything they're getting. And that you combine that with the 6G. We talked about the 6G from 5G to 6G, where allegedly it can see through your skin. You're getting to a point now where 1984 wasn't imaginative enough. I'll give you the last word. We got to shut things down.
Yeah, I think the amendments to the Constitution are getting trampled on in everyday life, and so we've got to watch out for that.
Yeah, I agree.
Patriots.
All right, folks, that's all the time that we have. We want to give a shout out to our sponsors: Red Vive Health, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, Pet Club 24/7, and Sherry Chiropractic. And don't forget that the Paul Harrell program is powered by the Healing Veterans Project. Scan the QR code. Email me if you know a business that wants to participate. We want to get these veterans red light panels. We'll see you guys tomorrow. God bless.